it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today we are going homemade all the way. Now, I just want to show you that in today's video, when we see something on videos and YouTube and all those good things, and that it is so easy to want something that we see, and by all means that definitely happens to me as well, and sometimes that's more than okay, and other times I think, how can I make that? How can I make that with what I have? And I saw this gorgeous little, viney situation coming down the side of a card, and I thought, surely I have something that I can create something-ish like that. Well, I didn't really, but we're going to make it. And so, I have a piece of cardstock. I want to create these flowers from scratch. So I have a piece of cardstock that I have folded over, and this is just so that I can make 2-for-1 petals. I can make them nice and fast. Then I also have my card base ready to go, which is going to be helpful as well. I was originally going to cut first and then ink second, but actually I decided to ink first and then I will cut. Now that fold line, that crease line, is going to indicate to me, where the base of the flower is going to be, just to make it super, super simple and clear and easy for me to see. So I have some worn lipstick, I have some Tattered Rose, and I have some Victorian Velvet Distress Oxide inks here. Now, the ink colors, they don't matter. It depends what you are going for, the look that you are going for. I'm going to create my own type of flower, and it is not, a type of flower. It is just a made-up one that is in my head. But, I was pretty pleased with the outcome. So I'm starting off with a little bit of the Tattered Rose, and then I move into the Victorian Velvet. And then my intention was to move into the warm lipstick, but I actually decided that I liked it just as is, and that I might want to add a little bit more colour later on. But for the minute, this is going to be enough. Now, these little petals are going to be, in my head, I want them to be relatively small. And so remember, this is kind of double the height of what they're actually going to be because I will fold this over. I wanted to come back and blend these two colours just a little bit more, and it changes the colour a little bit. I only have one blending brush for, a whole family of inks. And so I'm okay with that. It changes the colour of the inks a little bit. That's just fine with me. I'm going to take some Masking Magic. Now, this is just masking paper. I absolutely love this masking paper. It is bleed proof. It is absolutely wonderful, and I know that whatever line I create with this masking paper, it is not going to go over that. So I wanted the torn look for this edge, and I'm going to ink up a portion of the card. Now, by all means, if you want to, you could actually just have a separate piece of cardstock. If you had a background you already wanted to use, you could just tear the edge and then stick the cardstock on. I wanted to do more of a one layer for this because I knew I was going to be sticking elements on later. And so I'm going to create a bit of an inky background. Now, this is directly onto my card base. So I'm going to fold over my little piece of copy paper, my scrap paper, and that is going to protect the back and the inside of the card as well. I have some old paper, Distress Oxide. I have a tiny little bit of vintage photo which I'll use, but honestly, I want this to be a sort of patchy background. I don't really know the right words to use for it, but it's just going to be like a little bit in the background. And what always happens is there's kind of always more colour there than you think there's going to be. When you take off that mask and you're kind of like, oh yeah, there is a bit of colour there. I didn't think it was that dark. But you will see that there is definitely a nice line, a dividing line where that masking paper is. And of course, you could go with any colour scheme you would like to for this. This was just, I was picking those sort of more muted tones, I guess. Then to add a little bit of extra something, I'm going to use the text background Woodware stamp. And I'm just going to use this just for a little bit of texture. Just for a little bit of something going on in the background. I'm going to use the same ink, just dip it in with my fingers on the background so that I don't get like a complete image or a complete version of the text, and I don't want it to look identical anywhere. And so this helps when I don't put it on an acrylic block and I just use my fingers to get a little bit of something happening in the background. As I said, this is going to be a background, and so we don't need to have perfection. Right, coming back into our petals. Now this has had a minute to dry as well, which is helpful. And then I just do this. this is as good as it gets for me, and I am just going to cut out lots of these, more than I need. This means that I also can have some for the next card or another card, or if I have kids beside me, that means that they can create some too without it becoming stressful and me not having enough for my card that I had in mind. So by all means, I just create lots of them, and it means I can also have choice between, ultimately some will be the wrong shape or the wrong size or something like that, and so I can have choice as to what I would like. Then I did think that maybe I would colour these with a bit more yellow. As I mentioned, these flowers were just, on the fly flowers. I wasn't trying to copy something or have them look a specific way, and so I wasn't sure if I wanted a little bit more yellow, but of course mixing it with the pink turned it kind of orangey, and actually even after I did a few of these, I decided against using them, although I could just put some of these together and make more flowers with the ones that I did end up inking up. But honestly, I kind of decided that, I like them a little bit better without. They didn't need that extra little bit of colour. Now I know at this point you're probably potentially a little bit worried because it's not all perfectly coming together, but please bear with me. I promise, I really want you to see to the end of this video. Now I'm going to use, this is the Leafy Dies 1. Now I don't have sort of stems for my flowers, but we're going to create them using these. As usual, I do always encourage you to cut your die cuts so that they work for you. Now I'm going to cut off lots of these leaves, keep them because they could be good for something else, but then I'm going to cut the bottom of this, and this is going to be like that little bit that holds the flower. Now, is this called the receptacle? Someone might be able to correct me if that's not the right term, but it's that bit at the bottom of the flower, and I think this actually works out pretty good. So I'm going to do this to a few of them because I wanted to create not necessarily a viney look, but, just something traveling down the page perhaps. I'm not sure how to describe what I was looking for. Then I do have another piece of mint tape out. This is the 4-inch wide mint tape, and it is fabulous for holding things down while I'm inking them up as well. The waffle flower grip mats would also be fabulous for this. I just never remember to pull mine out, but I should be using that as well. And then I'm just using some Mowed Lawn, again, Distress Oxide ink, but any is going to work. And this means I can just come in a little bit heavier in some parts with the ink and have a little bit of variation within colour, even though I was just using the one ink. Now, I wanted to get a bit more down the bottom there, so I just use a fancy little scrap of paper and hold it up against it so that I can block off those leaves because I don't want ink there. I just want the bottom of these flowers, I think the receptacle, to have a little bit more ink on them. And then I can just go ahead and ink up the rest of the flowers with a little bit more colour and shading at the bottom of the stems. So I'm pretty happy with how these looked, and again, this is the Leafy Dies set from Pink and Main. It is one of my absolute favourites. I have so many videos showing this one. It is absolutely so versatile, and of course it actually comes with that layering option, which I probably could have used, to be honest, but I just used the base layer. So if you have something similar, or if you have these ones, then this is perfect. I think these worked out really well. You can let me know in the comment section down below, but you have to wait until the end of the video to see the end result, and then you can judge and tell me if they worked out not too bad. Can you tell what they originally used to be? Now we have taken off the masking paper. That is one of my favorite parts, when you reveal that crisp white section, and as I told you, it really does, it stays crisp and white even though you think there's not too much ink on there. Now this is where my made up flowers are coming into play. I'm putting 3 flowers here. I wasn't sure if I wanted to change the direction of one of the petals so that there was on the background too are going to have the darker side facing up, and then I was going to do the middle one so that the darker side was facing down, but actually I think I like it with all 3 with the same colour facing the same direction, but yeah, that could be an option. And then I just use a little bit of glue to hold it into place, and when we pop these behind our flower stems that we have created, I think these look not too bad. Now, I could have also added in more little stems. I could have had more flowers coming off each individual stem, but I decided to just go with one because I wasn't sure how they were going to cascade down my page just yet. And so technically I only need 3 flowers, but as I said, I made a lot of these and I was happy to sort of keep going, and sometimes for whatever reason in life, one of them just looks better than the other. So it gave me the ability to choose which ones sort of were going to fit best, and then also I fixed this one up so that it had all 3 3 of the darker ones facing upwards. And then you can see how these are going to come together. I'm just again going to add a little bit of glue. You could also add a little bit of foam tape behind these to give them a little bit of dimension. I think that would look cool as well. But when I put these on, I think they look pretty good for a made up sort of flower situation. Then after I've put the flower heads on, it's really just a matter of deciding how you would like them to lay out on your card. Now, I honestly could have had them coming in from all directions. I wasn't sure if I wanted to cut the stems so that it matched the masked part, or did I just want it over the whole page? I was really just trying to figure out what I wanted because I didn't really know. And I was deciding, I wish I had made another background so that I could have done a couple of different options, but that's okay. I've done one for the minute, and I'm going to use these flowers in another different way as well. I don't know if I'll film it, but I certainly have got another plan for the other ones, which is fine. And then I did pop a little bit of foam tape in behind some of the leaves just to give them a little bit more dimension. I added in some extra spare leaves just because I had them there ready to go. And then from this stamp set here, this is called Vibrant Sentiments by Gina, and I really like this gorgeous long sentiment here, but actually I'm going to cut this up. So it says, I'm grateful for you, and I'm actually going to cut this into individual words, but I do encourage you to cut your stamps, and if it's not your thing, that's okay. You can do masking, but if you cut them, when you put them together like you are going to stamp them, make sure you practice on a spare piece of paper so that you don't ruin your project, because everything is glued on at this point. And I decided that everything stacked up was a little bit too long, and so I just put a couple of the words, the I am together and the for you together, and I was happy with that. So sometimes it's not exactly as you think it's going to be, so it's good to try it out before you do it on an actual project. Then, of course, I'm going to add in a few water droplets, just clear gems that are going to be sprinkled here, there, and everywhere. And then we are all done with our made-up little flowers. I add a few little, finishing touches with a white gel pen, just sketchy little bits here and there. But let me know, what do you think of this? Could you tell that they were actually leaves that we turned into flower stems? And I was pretty happy with my little adventure today, so I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I hope that it has inspired you to have a look in your stash and see what you can create. But other than that, thank you for being here, thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Thank you.